Hello, once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brendan Lee from thebrendanlee.com, in support of Consciousness and Skill Worldwide, founded by Peter Ralston. Welcome back. In this video, I want to talk to you a little more about racism, culture, change, perhaps that domain of this investigation. And this comes from a comment from Anja, who sent a comment to one of my previous videos. Thank you for your previous video on racism and culture. Can you please say something about, you mentioned something about powerful forces in your video. Could you say something about that? Yes, I can. Thank you for the comment, and thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. Just digging into some things a little bit more. The powerful forces I'm talking about, because it seems like right now, in the year 2020, there's a lot of talk about racism, and there's a lot of people that want things to change. It seems to me like as a culture, and perhaps all over the world, there seems to be a large, or at least in the U.S., there's like a 50-50 split. There's half of the people in the United States are thinking one way, and about roughly half are thinking a different way, and one half wants the other half to change, and or there's a lot of protesting going on and trying to get some sort of social change to occur. Now, I live and hang out with Peter Ralston, and from time to time, and one of the things he's mentioned is he grew up in Berkeley in the 70s, and back in those times, there was another push towards some massive social change, and there was violence and bloodshed, and students got shot, people got killed, and then even previous to that, there's, say, Martin Luther King fighting for change in the South, and or to get some equality, between black people and white people, and just to get some freaking basic equality, right? And there, again, violence and bad things happen to people. And now again today we're seeing violence and bad things happening and people fighting for some kind of change, which I can appreciate. But I also want to balance the fight with perhaps some other perspectives and or just ways of thinking and considering that may be a little more open and investigative. First of all, I do want to acknowledge that there is a push for social change. That seems clear to me. I'm not taking one side or another. I'm just saying that there seems to be a push. A lot of people are upset. Now, some of the forces, perhaps again going back to racism, right? Consider where that exists. Like, if you want to know racism, it would be good to know what it is. If you want to change it even, especially you want it good to know what it is. You see, what is the racism? Where is it? Well, we say it is somewhere, right? We say it is somewhere. Yeah, but where exactly? See, because if I challenge you to go buy me some racism at Walmart, you're not going to be able to do it. So racism, where is it? And then some people may have a perspective, well, there is no racism, there's no problem, da-da-da-da-da. And there's other people in a different perspective. You see, this is at one perspective and another perspective. There's no racism. There's racism everywhere. It's embedded in the culture. It's in the systems. It's all over the place. Yeah, but what's racism made of? Well, it's in the person. Yeah, but where in the person, you see? We can't find it. It is not tangible. Okay, so this isn't tangible. Is it a problem? Well, perhaps it's a problem. There are many people that say it is a massive problem. So how do we recognize it? Well, the racism itself appears to affect the way people perceive reality. You cannot buy it. It has no physical substance, and yet it affects how I experience the world. Say if I'm racist, I will experience the world as a racist, whatever that is. Okay? See, I'm not trying to deny anything. I'm inviting you to leave it open so you can question it, so you can grasp it, so you can understand it fully, because then maybe, if it's a problem, you could simply stop doing it and give you that capacity, right? See, so then again, like, where is it? Well, can't find it anywhere, can't buy it at Walmart, and yet it colors perception and it affects the way people see the world. You see, so then when people are fighting other people, like, okay, bam, 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 you're racist, you need to stop being racist, what you're basically trying to do is tell them to see the world differently than they do. And I am in the business of working with people to show them new perspectives, to invite them to consider things, to invite them to change their experience of the world. And I can tell you for sure that is not easy to do. Okay? It's not easy. You try changing somebody. Have you ever, again, like from referencing a previous video I did, have you ever tried to change yourself? Have you ever tried to change yourself? Have you ever tried to change how you see the world? It's a pain in the ass. And that's putting it lightly. It is not easy, say. Unless it's easy, I'm open. So getting to this place where there's powerful forces. The forces I'm speaking about are the forces that appear to me in the form of culture, in the form of the force that has my perspective maintain itself. Have you ever noticed that your perspective is pretty much the same day to day? Have you ever noticed how strong that is? Have you ever noticed, like for example, right, boom, here, pencil, right, pencil. Have you ever noticed how strongly this is a pencil? Like, go ahead right now, try to see this as not what you see. See it as a fluffy animal. You can't fuck with reality like that. You cannot do that. That's strong. It is so strongly being a pencil, you can't change it. That's your perception. That's your sight. You see? Go ahead, change your sight. Stop seeing windows and doors. See mushrooms. You can't do that. Okay? Maybe if you take a lot of drugs, that would happen, but then it's still up for grabs and it's still out of your control. You take the drugs, you see differently for a while, then you stop seeing differently, and reality comes back, doesn't it? That's pretty strong stuff. That is another powerful force I'm talking about. Okay, culture is another one of those. Culture, right? You ever seen somebody born in a certain culture? You know, say you take somebody's parents. Like I have one client of mine, his father is Korean, like more old school, South Korean. His mindset is totally fixed in that. There is no changing that. Okay, within certain limits. See, he is going to remain South Korean old school until he's dead. That's because that's fixed. You see, and that, again, that's strong. That's culture. And then we go, well, okay, so where are these forces? And I imagine that people wanting to solve this racism dilemma, they want to find something to blame. Oh, I can blame it on external sources and external forces. But be very careful when you say that, because are there actually some external force creating the racism? Other than culture and your own thinking? You see? So some of these forces, and then if it is your own thinking and culture, where do those exist? Thinking and culture only get to exist in your experience. Yeah, but it really seems like it might be outside my experience. Yeah, well, when you're in deep sleep, where is your thinking, huh? When you're in deep sleep, where is culture? Or if we have an entire group of people that's of one culture, and then everybody dies off in that culture, and then there's only one person left that has that culture, and then they die, where does the culture go? Where's it go? It's gone. Culture does not exist outside of the person. It is the person. It forms the very mind with which you apprehend what I'm saying right now. The very perspective with which you see me and hear me and think about what I'm saying is already being shaped by culture. Also, language, another powerful force, as if powerful force. I wouldn't necessarily call language a powerful force in a sense, except for its creative nature. We live within language and forget that it's created, and it looks very real. For example, like if you have some text here, right? You must read that as text, even if you don't speak English. You can't not see text there. You see how strongly that is? You see it as writing, like period. There's no way around that. That's pretty strong. And it doesn't show up as just random lines that are meaningless. Like you read that immediately. And if you can't, again, you know it's language. You see how that affects your sight? You can't help but see that. Again, powerful force that we live within but forget that it's made up. You see? So now, it kept occurring to me as well, before I wanted to shoot this video, that I wanted to also say a little bit about, and I want to invite you, if you're watching this video, to consider the side of, say there's these protests about George Floyd being killed, right? And people are going, defund the police, which I'm a little worried about that. I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should educate the police. They need more training, not less. That's an aside. So one of the areas where I have some experience is I've worked in bars and clubs, and I've been a bouncer. I've done security, right? And then what I've used in there or learned in that environment is that it is very, just for you who are watching, to consider the side of the police or the people who have to be in law enforcement, what they do every day. Now, I'm not a police officer, and I have no doubt that job is not easy, because I've worked in bars and I've had to tell people to get out when they don't want to leave. I've had to manage potentially violent situations. I've had to be aware of those types of things. Now, here's something from that domain. If you work in a bar, okay, and like there's one bar I used to work at in Houston, and it was, and you are probably going to think of this as racist, but it doesn't matter. The people who come in, you could have no polo boots for one. And no shorts, I think, or like no t-shirts, no shorts, no polo boots. It's like there's a dress code. Now, why is there a dress code? It might seem racist, right? Who's wearing the polo boots? Well, in this case, there's a lot of black guys wearing polo boots. Who's the ones that causing the trouble at the bars usually? Guys wearing those types of clothing. Now, I can hear it now, like, oh my God, that is the most racist thing, blah, 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 blah. You may be upset. I want you to consider that any upset you have is a byproduct. That's a reaction to what I'm saying. I'm only saying, what I'm saying is that, or for example, again, just to continue here, I just want to work it with you a little bit. Might be touchy or whatever, I don't know. I worked in bars and blah, blah. These short Mexican guys having some sort of machismo problem, causing trouble. Boom, another Mexican guy, short Mexican guy, causing trouble, machismo. You feed him alcohol, I'm short, I got to cause trouble. Pretty soon, if somebody's working in that kind of environment, they might be seeing a short Mexican guy, they're going to be on edge already. Why? Because you go in, short Mexican guy, trouble. Another guy like that, trouble. Another guy like that, trouble. The mind will automatically begin to associate and categorize reality. That's how we function in reality, actually. We have it all categorized, mapped out. Like, you know what pencils are. Boom, why? And you know all types of pencils, don't you? Just by looking at them. You see, if it walks like a pencil, talks like a pencil, it's probably a pencil. The same can be true of people in bars. So then what happens to the bouncer who gets inundated with this night after night after night after night after night? I can tell you, after meeting thousands of people in bars, you start to, as if like, make up categories of different types of people, and then pretty quick, somebody can come in, boom, size them up, and then, oh, they're going to be trouble. And then sure enough, you know, because you've had lots of experience, and then, boom, trouble. Wonder how that happened. See, so then you might say, well, that's profiling, or that's racism, or some such, or some kind of bias or stereotype. Yes, it is. But why do they exist? See, as a function of my mind, making distinctions and recognizing patterns. Okay? Now the same, imagine being a police officer and dealing with certain types of people day in and day out, and then noticing, okay, who are the ones causing the trouble? And then imagine being that police officer. How could you not think of a certain person a certain way or make categories of types of people? Because that's what they deal with every single day. And they don't deal with nice people. They deal with people, you know, like a friend of mine said at a club I used to work at. He's like, Brendan, remember, these people get to come here and they're at their worst. Say, in a club, they are cutting loose. They are not the slick professionals that you see in a normal workday. They come to cut loose, to have fun. Right? Police officers, what are they dealing with? People who are at their worst every single day. Try to imagine what that would be like. And then there's this challenge of, if I see something a bunch of times, I get programmed. There's that kind of person, I expect this kind of reaction. There's that kind of person, I expect this kind of reaction. Then even worse than that, after a while, I start to see reality that way, and even if the person is close to that, my mind will still categorize them in that place, and it's like my very sight is clouded, and I may not even know. And it's really hard to shake that, because it looks real. It looks like perception. Again, like this is like a powerful force, some of these powerful forces I'm talking about. You picking up what I'm putting down here? You tasting what I'm wiping on you, or smelling what I'm spraying? Okay, as my buddy Johnny would say. Reality. The only reason I know about this is because I've done lots and lots of work. I've done tons, thousands and thousands of hours of serious contemplation, looking into my own reality. I start to catch sight of this stuff. That's the only reason I even know about it. Plus, I've had an awesome teacher. And so I would invite the listener to consider that aspect is like the mind is so powerful, it can create reality. It already does. You know, a fly doesn't see a human being like this. You do. That's powerful. You can recognize all of reality. Like if you look in the background, there's some rings, a Buddha, a bookshelf, like you know all this stuff. And you do it fast. You see how creative that is and how powerful that is? And how much it keeps being that way? Now imagine somebody who's grown up their entire life within a certain perspective and a certain way of thinking that you might call racist. And maybe it is racist. You see, and it's just like flat out, their whole perspective is like, what the fuck is that? It's hurtful. It's painful. They're hurting people. They're hurt themselves. Everybody's in pain. And it's just like a pain extravaganza. And they can't stop doing it. And it looks real, and even worse, it looks like to them that it's the other person's fault. And so they're going to go, no, it's not me, it's fucking you. You're making me feel this way. How do you combat that? How do you get in there? It's like trying to convince a devout Christian that they don't know what they're talking about. How are you going to change that, you see? How do you shift somebody out of that? Yikes, right? Uh-oh. I don't think you do it by telling them they're wrong. You can, but it's likely to just reinforce their way of thinking or to start conflict. I think Martin Luther King probably had the right idea. That seemed to work. Love them. Acceptance. Have a conversation. Get each other's perspective, perhaps. These are just my ideas. Hey, who knows? Who knows? See? Jesus seemed to have the right idea. Hey, I went away for a while, I came back, let me tell you guys about love. They're like, crucify his ass. What? How would I bring you love? And God, kill him. Worthless. That's the intelligence level we're working with here, as far as I can tell. Yeah. See, how do you change that? Because, it seems there's a fight for some sort of social change. How do you change it? Okay, and then considering, I guess maybe that I'm just sort of rambling, thinking here, the last little bits that I've got for you. There may be racist systems or systems that were created with that perspective. You see, it's like whatever's generated and created by human beings comes from a perspective. And if that perspective is biased towards one color or another, then there may be stuff that's biased and like inherently in the system. So if that's the case, perhaps it's time to change the systems. Or, they almost hung Galileo for claiming that the that the earth wasn't the center of the universe. They almost hung his ass. I'm saying this because I think we're in a similar type of situation now where it's like people are saying stuff and or people are just being, and there's other people saying, the way you think is wrong. Let me hang your ass for thinking that way. No, thinking's thinking. That's different. Just not, what's thinking? As far as I know, we're allowed to think whatever we want here in America. We can have thoughts. It's what we do about them. That's the thing. It's our intent behind our actions, I think, is the important part. Not what we think. It's what we do. Okay, so it's like there may be some aspect like that, right? Broken systems, hey, fix them. Find a way. Find a solution. And then there was something else. Yeah, I just want people to consider the reality of what's going on and invite them to a world of responsibility for their own work, for their own perspective. You see, like I hear about, I have heard a couple places where there were people like, say, ex-neo-Nazis, right? Talk about how they stopped doing that, and what they realized was they were hating people. And they got, oh, I'm hating people. I'm going to stop that. You see? So, do you hate people? Do you hate people for the way they think? Do you hate people just because they have a perspective or say the wrong words? See, like there's this trigger warning culture. Do you get triggered by people? Do you want them to stop talking because it hurts you? That's called blaming somebody else for your experience. See, that's putting the solution outside of you. Now, Hitler did that. The solution was outside of him. Kill the Jews. I can see that going over real well. See, is the solution outside of you? Because that's never going to work. The solution is in you, the listener. It's in me, if we're looking for a solution. The solution does not exist in some external form. Because if it does, you must control the external circumstances in which you find yourself. There's no way around that. That is how you create a solution. If you think your solution is external to you, you must manipulate the people and objects around you in order to get that to occur so you can feel better. So you will be dominated by having to force others to think and see the world the way you want them to see it in your image. And I don't know if that's fruitful for change. It is definitely fruitful for controlling people. It is definitely fruitful for creating conflict. It is definitely fruitful for division. It will work for those things, but I do not see that working to bring people together. And in my perspective, I think bringing people together is more would be better at this stage. We need to work together, not separated. Or not. There's no rules. So, hey, Rome fell. Dark ages happen. We have a renaissance. Hey, maybe we're about to fall again. Who knows? Okay? So thank you very much for listening once again. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. Anja. This is Brendan Lee with theBrendanLee.com in support of Consciousness and Skill Worldwide, founded by Peter Ralston. If you want to get serious, please check the links in the description. Come join me for a workshop. Hire me to be a coach for you, so I can work with you one-on-one. Subscribe to the channel. Share the content if you think is worth it. Much love, and I'll catch you later. Ciao.